Ha! Ooh, I love secrets. If you haven't watched video 1 yet, watch that first. Stuff is supposed to be in order.
So we've talked a little bit about the importance of staying safe when a fight first breaks out, and I believe we've mentioned we're going to do this with a combination of elusive tactics and long-range weapons like your front kick. Now this video is going to help you build your front kick, and if you focus on the following details, that kick's really going to hurt people. It's going to stop them in their tracks. It's going to make them think about how it's a little tougher for them to breathe instead of thinking about punching you in the face, and that's going to change the game. And just to keep you in the loop, after we're done building this weapon, I'll start showing you the techniques and moves you can use to end the fight and take this dude out when it's time. Those will be in the closing distance and doing damage section of the strategy. Okay, the technique behind a great front kick is actually pretty simple. It's a couple of easy movements that you just combine together. So the first movement, you're going to draw your leg up into what's called the chamber. So you essentially pick your knee up into your chest as high as you can, you tuck your heel close to your butt, and you pull your toes up.
The most important thing is just pulling your knee up high, so make sure you do that.
This is the chamber. That's movement number 1. Now, once you've pulled your leg up in the chamber, you're going to lash your foot straight out while leaning back. Boom! Okay? Now, after you've lashed it out, you're pulling your knee back into the chamber. Bam! Like so, before you put it down. So it's actually up, out, in, and then back down. Up, out, in, and then back down. 4 movements. Pretty simple.
Come on, Trav, what's with all the details? I really just like watching you get punched in the face.
Now it's really important to tell you about the individual movements because if you cut any corners, your front kick gets screwed up and it doesn't work as well. For example, if you don't bring your leg up into the chamber to start the movement, what ends up happening is you end up lashing a kick upwards. And you don't want that because number 1, you might break your toes by whipping them up on somebody's elbow. You'll damage your foot. That's really bad.
If the kick moves up, boom, that's where it all goes bad. And that'll leave you in a boot for a summertime.
Additionally, you don't want the kick going up. You want it going out. You want to blast it into that guy, not come back this way. Okay, so just by pulling your knee up into the chamber to start the movement, you end up with a much better kick to start.
One more little thing here.
Also, it's very important to return to the chamber after you've thrown the kick. There's a lot of people that end up getting dragged around by their front kicks. They end up following their kick and becoming overextended and off balance. So if you make sure that you snap your kick out and return to the chamber, you can boom, put your leg back down where you're on balance. You know, continue to move elusively. You can do whatever you want because you are in control. And to all the people who are wondering, well, hey, what happens if the guy just sits there and waits to try to catch your foot? Well, it's a rapid return back to the chamber that really makes it hard for him to do that. So as soon as your kick lands, bop, get it the hell out of there, and the guy will only have a split second to try to snatch your foot. It's another reason why all these little details matter so much. I don't just talk to hear myself talk. Most times.
Come on, Trav, think of a synonym for attack that sounds good. Assault? Batter. Beatdown. No, it's hyphenated. Pulverize? Pulverize! I f***ing love that word. God, you are so smart.
Now, as I mentioned very briefly earlier, step 2 in this kick involves leaning back when you lash your leg out. This might be the most important technical detail about the front kick. It's actually also important for knees, as a side note. The reason being, both of these attacks involve popping your hips out in order to drive your leg into whatever you're striking. And it's that specific movement that adds a ton of power and range to this thing. Allow me to demonstrate.
If I'm facing shovelhead, I'm just gonna pick my knee up. Now I want you to see what happens when I push my hips forward and I lean back.
This first line represents the starting point of my knee, which of course could easily be my foot if my leg was actually extended. This second line represents my ending point, so you can see how much distance I gain just by leaning back.
I get like, what, about a foot closer to him. Now, think about that as a principle when you're throwing your front kick. You bring your knee up to your chest, and then you want to lean back. So you push your hips forward, your upper body acts as a counterweight to throw your hips forward, adds a lot of power to the movement.
Now you can look at your lean back in one of 2 ways. One, that you can strike the guy from a foot further away, or 2, that you can drive the strike a foot deeper into the guy's guts. It's pretty awesome.
Now I get a lot of people that ask me, what part of my foot do I hit with? Do I use my toes? Do I use my heel? The heel is the safest. If I'm throwing this thing at shovel head, let's say I'm barefoot or I was walking around in flip-flops, and I throw a toe kick at him, and I catch him at an elbow or something, that's gonna f up my toes. Toes, not the safest, but look at how much distance they add. My foot is about a foot long, probably where they got the word foot from. So if I stick my toes out, I can get them from further away. And they end up being like a little f***ing dart into that guy's belly.
Extending your foot adds range, but you are using a more vulnerable part of your foot.
So check it out. Pow. This is exactly where I want my foot to hit if I'm front kicking with my toes. I'm actually kicking with the ball of my foot, basically like right behind this point. However, you better believe that sometimes you're gonna catch an elbow, you're gonna catch parts of the guy's body that bend your toes back. So it's important to condition your foot for that. One way to do that is simply by kicking a heavy bag with your toes. Make sure they actually get used to dynamically being bent back. They'll actually improve their flexibility after a while. The other way is kind of a modified child's pose in yoga. So I'm gonna basically let my feet crunch up like this, maybe even stretch back, relax a little bit. Oh man, that is tough on the toes.
Does anybody know why I'm wearing one shoe here? What the hell am I doing? Anyhow, foot conditioning drills like those will help you front kick safely.
Foot conditioning. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Oh, this? Conditioning my toes.
That is foul.
Yep. Get it done.
Now before you go getting all crazy jamming your toes into stuff, you gotta be aware that by using your toes, you're actually sacrificing some of the power in your kick. Here's why. When you strike with your toes, your foot gets bent backwards. Now that bend and that flexibility is basically like a cushion. It's like a shock absorber, and it's absorbing some of the shock in your kick. Now if you use your heel, the heel of your foot, that doesn't bend. It doesn't move at all. So there's nothing to absorb any of the force that you're putting into this kick. So you end up transferring much more of the blunt force trauma into your opponent. For the most damage, use your heel to throw your front kicks.
Yes, it's a shorter weapon. You can't hit the guy from further away, but it's gonna have a more serious blunt force trauma, and you avoid the aspect of your toes getting jammed or jamming your toe on an elbow or anything like that. So, Shovel, I'm gonna kick you with the heel one time. Now, do you feel the difference in the impact on that? I'll do twice as much. You feel the sharpness of the impact. There's nothing squishy about it.
Use your heel for damage, use your toes for range, and in any case, practice to build your skills. Now really the best way to build your front kicks is by striking a moving target like a heavy bag and doing so repeatedly. Think about it, this is eye-foot coordination, and we want to be striking a moving target specifically at the point where our leg is extended. So that's going to involve a little bit of timing. So again, this is a nice moving target that we can just kick repeatedly. As soon as it comes in, kick it again. Mix in some of the left leg if you like. Throw a bunch of kicks, have some fun with it. Again, very important to strike a moving target. Your opponent's going to be moving, so you want to get used to that. Timing, power, endurance, all that good stuff. Now, if you don't have a heavy bag, don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. You can always find something to kick. Kick a tree, kick a wall. You could even get a whole lot better just by kicking in the air. In fact, it's kind of necessary. Now in the next video, which I'll send out in a few days, I'm gonna start showing you the techniques that we'll use to finish the fight and take the guy out. Also, I'll prove to you that no matter how small or unathletic you might be, you absolutely can beat the crap out of larger people in fights. Now, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the little comments thingy down below, and I'll answer you right away. Or, you know, whatever my version of right away is. I'll be quick about it.
Leave a comment.